Okay. Here, here we go. Hi. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Touhou Project Mania Cup. And this is going to be our final showcase, our grand final showcase specifically. And we did have a small week break, but just to kind of keep you up score, our finalists are going to be Girlfriend ASMR, Mahjong Soul Official, and Gravity Coil. So congratulations for those three teams for surviving a grueling previous 9 months. Not 9 months, 9 weeks, sorry. Previous 9 weeks of what we have to throw in free. And now we have given you three teams one last pool to give it your all. In the commentary booth, it is going to be Nightkore. Joining me is going to be none other than Epic Man 2. How are you doing?
Yo, 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 hello. Well, very excited to be back here after some time. This is like my first time like commentating for a Mappool showcase like in this tournament, but because this is the final showcase, we have spent a lot of time just precisely preparing like a lot of the maps that we are going to be showing for the aforementioned finalist teams, as mentioned earlier. So we hope that you keep your eyes peeled, as this map pool has quite a ton of interesting choices here as it stands.
Actually, quick update. Two of the teams forfeited, so we're not gonna have a grand finals pool showcase. Sorry, guys.
It's not April Fool's for like everyone. It's not April Fool's for me yet. I still have like 6 more hours.
Me too. But still, we only showcase once. Okay, I guess we could just jump straight into things. So we do have. I do believe we do follow the same format from the finals, but if not, I will just update you when I do look at this. But anyways, for the last three teams, as you do know, I do believe when we do get to the final match, if the team from the losers bracket does win, I do believe there is a bracket reset. I'm not too sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we just get into it.
Yeah, should be fine. But yeah, lots of very cool maps coming your way for the grand finals, and we hope that you see and we hope that you enjoy what everyone has put together as we go on to Rise 1. Gonna be none other than, to start things off, gonna be none other than Emeranabe by Scoliosis ET. The speed map.
Alright, already starting off, and we're kicking it with that 184 BPM, where we're going to be seeing a lot more of those 1/8s and even some higher snappings as well. So we're still kind of keeping it around the 300 BPM mark for our grand finalists. But you've seen what they were capable of doing in the finals, so this is definitely going to be kind of more, can they still keep up with the heat, the maximum heat pretty much. And at 4 minutes, and clocking in at 3 minutes as well. And kind of as you have seen from the intro, it does start off fairly light with more of those fairly simple streams, but as you do get into the Ki, all hell pretty much breaks loose. Just playing that continuous stream with even some jumps packed in with the middle, and definitely having those focus on those trills as well. It is a knuckle sandwich pretty much.
Absolutely, especially with a grand finals pick such as this, and a custom as well. This stream here, like during these courses, it clocks in at about 370 BPM, seeing that this map is on 1.05 rates. So that is definitely something to take notes of. If this is definitely like one of those maps that can keep your consistency in dire check. Like, just if you don't end up like looking after, if you just simply like slip up, even on some of these slower streams here at 1.6, they can still throw you off so badly because of how sort of like very specific they are when it comes to like directions that they choose, that they basically go in, especially for like, whereas like I'd say that like these courses are more like sort of like flow heavy, as you can see from the anchors here, and also like just the overall direction, whereas like the other like sort of sections are sort of more like they're basically like a bit more like sort of angry and like sort of like a bit more abrasive in a way to really like just throw people off. Especially as you can see from these kinds of like parents here, they are definitely like relatively tight for what they're intended.
So this is definitely going to be your stop and go map. As we have seen from the format of the first two Kiais, they did kind of follow around the same format. But also, can I mention that there are flams as well mixed in with some of those streams. So it would be a big help if you were fairly comfortable with holding on to combo in this map. Even if you do find a clean miss, I don't think it'll be the worst. And as we just get into the final Kiai, it just throws everything at you. You're starting to see a lot more of those anchors in the stream and a lot more of those longer trills as well, just giving out its final breath pretty much. And it's probably gonna be a choke point for a lot of those teams. Definitely not really much of a difficulty spike up, but to keep your consistency, oh man, it is pretty much something else. And I do believe that this pick is probably going to be maybe feared by some players and maybe a potential ban opportunity. I do know some of the teams are more prominent on Rice and some on LN though, so maybe for some of the teams, it could be probably a shout maybe to kind of look into this map a small bit. But now with Rice 1 out the way, we can kind of get into our jump stream streamy pick.
Yup. Gonna be Rice 2, gonna be seeing Flowering Night Fever, a custom map by Miari Chesu. So this map, clocking it at 290 BPM. This is going to be your consistency check gauntlet of a jump stream map, clocking it at nearly 300 BPM. If you know this song, then you already know like what is down, especially as you can see here already, you are already just immediately thrown into some relentless jump stream stamina like already. And not to mention the fact that this map as well clocks in at precisely 4 minutes of length, so sort of similar to the jump stream map that we would have seen in finals earlier. I believe it would have been Don't Let You Down. This was 270 BPM. So this is about a 20 BPM jump in terms of difficulty, as to say.
A 20 BPM jump is something that is very rare to see, and just already looking at this map, it's giving you pretty much no breaks at all. Just throwing in pure jump stream, pure anchors, pretty much everything. As only when the guitar gets heavier, so does the jump stream as well. As you can see already, a lot more of those jumps, and we're only a quarter in, let's just say that. So, if we're only a quarter in, there's going to be a lot more wacky shenanigans when we do jump into a lot more. And some of those longer trills as well on the hand is going to be a very daunting task.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just the fact that this map is definitely like one of those maps that has like so much like versatility, like sort of incorporated into the patterning itself, that can really trip over so many of the players that just simply go into this. And seeing like a lot of these jacks, especially with some of these anchors, it's really like one of those, this section is like really one of those like stop and go kind of sections where like, especially for a pre-chorus, it just constantly switches in between like sort of flowy jump stream and also just dense like sort of jump stream in general. As you can see, there's so many anchors and trills, like especially in these choruses. You can see this is like sort of similar to this is such a dense map in general, and this is literally your only sort of like break. You get some of these light mini jacks like after the second chorus before you just enter like the guitar solo of the song. And if you are familiar with the likes of Undead Corporation's works, then you probably would already know what's going down, especially with songs such as these at such a high sort of like tempo and whatnot.
Just closing off that break, again, not really giving you much room to rest. As we did say, there were a couple of those 145 BPM mini jacks, but as we do kind of start picking things up, we're seeing a lot more of those one-hand trills back at 290 BPM, a lot more of those gluts as well, and just jumping back in to see where the last part is. See, you could be consistent with the 290 BPM for the first Kiai, but definitely like a part like this, especially with those continuing trills as well, could definitely catch a lot of players off. So definitely more about keeping your flow in for the first half, but then when you get to the second half, you kind of have to be able to transition in and out from a lot of those trills. And we still have 100k of the map left, so you just best hope you don't choke here. Thankfully, it does kind of continue the same flow as we have seen for the first half of the map. But again, after just playing around 3.5 minutes of that, let's just hope that your fingers don't really start to wear, especially when you get to this ending with those very awkward trills as well. And yeah, just pretty much don't choke, please.
Yeah, ending on a high note there. A lot of these blast speeds that you really gotta like try and like just maintain like the best accuracy and stamina as you could get possible, and that is actually kind of a crazy score to see. Only 90 perfects on this. I mean, maybe we could probably be expecting this kind of score in Grand Finals as well, which would be genuinely insane. I'm looking at some of you here, but despite that, we still have another jump stream map, and as you can tell, it is going to be the stamina map.
It's going to be a pure stamina map now, so it's going to be kind of scary. We're going to be... Okay, we're not breaking the 300 BPM mark.
If only.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is going to be... I can't pronounce that name, but it's going to be on 1.2.
The title should be Suigetsu Kyoka Kobo Isen by Xenoglossy. Yeah, I think that's the title.
And most of these picks are custom as well. This is, of course, made by one of our mappers, GS Hina. And again, longer than our Rice, our Rice 2 pick, clocking in at 4.5 minutes. And I would say this probably does follow some of that same format from Rice 2, but except this is going to be more of your pure stream patterns. Already we can see, jumping into our first key out, we're seeing a lot more of those trills, some of those split trills and jump trills. Again, the BPM is a bit lower, but you're still hitting a lot of those awkward patterns as well. So just hope you can kind of transition in and out of especially those trills very well, because if you don't, because if something happens, it can already pretty much be the deciding factor.
Yeah, absolutely, and this song being really relatively similar, like in contrast to Flowering Night Fever, which is like sort of more death metal. Like this still sort of like maintains the formula of being like metal oriented, except this is a bit more like sort of oriental in terms of song choice. But despite that, it doesn't really let up either. You still get a lot of these really angry sort of like jump stream patterns that just simply like just have like quite a bunch of different like sort of directions, and also some like very sort of like abrasive technical sort of like factors that are thrown in as well, like as you can see from these dumps as well, and as alongside some of these like dumps. So really one of those like control heavy like sort of like maps. If I was to say like Flowering Night Fever is probably like more like jump stream consistency, then this is probably like more like sort of technical like jump stream, considering like what you sort of like get like just from looking at this map alone. And this is only like through the halfway mark. This map, plug it at 4.5 minutes. This is a precise test on endurance this is a precise test on endurance as usual.
And can I just say, what a very brutal guitar solo. Already mixing patterns from what we have seen for the first key and combine that with dump. And wow, that is spicy, let's just say that. And at OD 8.1 as well. Well, be grateful it's not OD 9, because then you'd be seeing a lot more 200s. But now we're kind of getting back into it. We're seeing a lot more hands as well accompanying this key as well, and following more that same format again. We're not getting a lot of those split frill patterns as we have seen. It's mostly going to be more of your one-handed trills that I would say are a bit shorter as well. So, and wow, those long jacks as well, you have to watch out for as well.
Yeah, this map in general, it is nothing short of relentless by definition. This map, despite being slower than Flowering Night Fever from earlier, this is still such an intense map to really just keep yourself dialed in if you really want to be able to at least sort of capitalize off of a map like this, and especially with this being essential of what is part of the late game in this tournament, this is something that you really gotta like keep on the watch for, especially.
And it's not over yet still. We might have seen the climax a bit earlier, but this map gives you one last push to shove. Pretty much when it's just gonna be kind of copying from it's gonna be kind of your same format as we have seen from, I would say, around the intro or the first minute or so. Which again, I think if you were fairly comfortable with that, I don't think this should be too challenging for our players. Just make sure you do not miss on that long middle trill, and you should be pretty much good to go.
Indeed, that was Rice Free, and without further ado, we can get onto the rest of the really fun Rice Mappool as you're already watching. Going to be going to Rice for the Jack pick. Going to be none other than Clown Tans by Ultratelic Brown on 1.05 rate.
We're at 168 BPM Jack for 3 minutes. What? I did believe last time it was like 150, no? In finals.
Was it?
Well, I'm not too sure.
Oh wait, no, it was 160, if I remember correctly. It was the, yeah, it was 162 BPM, 163 BPM technically for Phantasmagoria, but yeah, this map, talking basically nearly 170 BPM, this is probably like, if there's a map that this map would probably be most comparable to, in my opinion, it would probably have to be Shinsha or HGS from MWC 2023 Grand Finals, which was like the core jack map of that Mappool in specific. So this map, following a relatively similar format, it is really stamina heavy, especially with the Jack series. You can see it has a lot of these really sort of emphasize like cores, especially on Ashron's songs such as this, which really sort of bring out like the density of just these kicks alone that are so impactful, as you can hear.
This map kind of follows a very flowy format, kind of having that 2-3-4. So if you're fairly comfortable with that, it could be something kind of up your alley. But you also kind of got to watch out for some of those density bursts as well in the middle. But you do get a fairly nice break for a small bit before we head into the second half, which will be pretty much a pinnacle of the difficulty, this pick. And already kicking back into it, we're seeing a lot more of those heavy quads and those alternating jumps as well. But again, we're still getting very heavy on the bursts as well of density. So it might be something you kind of have to watch out for. I probably will say that while I do think a full combo or two will probably be found, it's still a pick you don't really want to risk. You don't really want to kind of go for a risk on.
Yeah, absolutely. And either way, like core jack maps in a tournament setting are usually like insanely competitive, especially as you would have seen from like the late game maps, the late game matches from earlier on. They have still been so insanely competitive for maps such as these. So with this map being basically the summit of core jack difficulty that this tournament has to offer, it's either we're going to be seeing maybe some less ratio battles between each of the players, or we're still going to have our minds blown just from the sheer performances of each of these players alone. This map offers nearly no breaks at all, and it just keeps going for 3 minutes, nearly OD9, and as usual, if you are familiar with Ultratelic Brown's core jack maps, you already know that a lot of them are just as relentless as this one in specific. But that is going to conclude Rise 4 Clown Tans.
Well, thankfully, near the ending, it does get a bit lighter again from what you have seen from the Ki. Kind of following the same format from around the intro to map. So, kind of more of a cooldown area. So, just seeing the pinnacle around the middle, pretty much. So, as long as you get past that, you probably should be good as gold, unless you do kind of find a nasty choke there. But now with the Jack pick out the way, we're going to be jumping into Rice 5, so we're going to kind of jump into more of our mixed rice technical picks now. So stay tuned. And actually, as I do say it, this is going to be a map by our own commentator ourselves. Say hello to Bloodthirsty Nightmare Lullaby by our one, our only, Epic Man 2. So I might just stay a bit quiet for this map, and maybe I might just let Epic Man kind of guide you through this map.
Okay, sure. I felt the top of my cranium like just ring a bit, but like, yeah, if Flower Night Fever wasn't enough for you death metal heads, like especially going into this match, then surely this is probably to provide you with some more flavor. Despite this being like a bit more sort of like tech dump oriented, it is going to be none other than Bloodthirsty Nightmare Lullaby by Undead Corporation once again. So like, as you can see already, this map offers quite a plethora of different patterns. As you can see, a lot of these like really burst streamy patterns, along with like some of these really tight mini jacks, especially on such a dense metal song from the likes of Undead Corporation in general. Oh, okay, but yeah, basically, as you can see, like the dumps here, like sort of tend to like follow like a lot of the screamer that you can hear, like from the vocals itself, along with how insanely dense these drums are overall. As you can see, just a lot of these like sort of 270 BPM like blast beats, as you can see, and going into this chorus here, it is something that does not let up in difficulty at all. This map offers basically no breaks at all throughout this entire map. It is so daunting in terms of stamina that it can basically just destroy anyone if they were to come unprepared into this map alone, as you can see. And especially going into like this next verse, it just throws these kinds of patterns at you still, while it's just still like, it's basically one of those maps where like as soon as you like just press on the gas pedal, it just does not stop. Even like going into this guitar solo, it introduces like a lot of these index streams that like are just really sort of like, that really just fluctuate in terms of like snapping and speed as well, that really need to like, that you really gotta keep on the watch for, because with how diverse this map is in terms of like what it has to offer for a wildcard dump map in general, it really has so much to offer that you really gotta keep your eyes like on the playfield at all costs. Like, no matter what is happening on the screen, no matter if you have like a lot of these jacks, a lot of these like index streams and trills like thrown at you at 1/8, 1/6, and even 1/9, and a bunch of like really like obscure snaps as well. Like, this map in general just like offers so much of them, like in general, that it's just such a gauntlet of a dump map, of one of the few gauntlets that are in this map pool as well, as you can see from such a dense map as this.
Wow,
sorry, I waffled there.
Man. That is a gauntlet of a map, and what? It's a very brutal map. Just pretty much there to test. Well, it's wildcard, so out there to test pretty much everything. So,
and now on that note, I can finally upload the map. What? All right. Yay!
Okay, so with that out the way, we now have Rice 6, our wildcard classic. So it is probably going to be it's going to be a song that I think a good few people might be familiar with. It's going to be Better Than You Ignorant Fools, the Princess Insane Alright Life. I believe this is kind of a fairly popular Touhou Mania love map, I do believe. And it's going to be our classic wildcard by Odzo.
Yeah, this map, being very dump oriented. If you are familiar with like this song, or at least you probably don't even need to be familiar with it first thing to know like what happens. You can already see just like how like chronically insane this song sounds already, in terms of like how the vocal chops just sound in general. Just on being maybe just borderline extra tone oriented. Like maybe when it comes to like these these kinds of like sounds that you can just hear alone. If you are, but especially then, like Odzo is no stranger when it comes to dump mapping and just technical mapping in general. So like if you are familiar with their maps, especially in tournaments such as MWC, for example, then you already know where you're going, what you're in for on a map like this, especially for this one.
Also did not. He did not hold back when making maps. When making a map like this, you have flams instead of trills, jacks everywhere. Like pretty much, you give Odzo a song, and he will pretty much map it to pretty much every single vocal there is. And we're only halfway in as well for this gauntlet. And it's just going to be, again, very well represented for a classic wildcard type pick. But as we do get into the second half, we will be seeing a lot more of those unique patterns already. Those weirdly snapped trills, I do believe around, a couple of them being around the 300 BPM mark as well. Not really too familiar with that, my math is not adding up. But as we kind of get into it, we're kind of seeing the same format as we have with the first Ki. A lot more of those anchors, a lot more of those dumpy sections as well. But we still have 1/4 left in the map. Again, at 3 minutes long, it is fairly long for a map like this, and and you pretty much get no rest as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with the map, especially with the fact that this map alone is basically at 300 BPM. Like, even though it says 150, it just sounds like 300 to me, or at least in my opinion. Just like with how insane this song sounds, like you can basically just like listen to it and imagine such an insane like map in general that is so incredibly difficult, and that is exactly what Odzo went out of their way to sort of express here. As you can see, a lot of these like really insanely abrasive bursts here that you just really gotta keep your eyes on the board like at all costs. You just basically just can't blink at any point, otherwise you are probably gonna risk a miss, and that is something you don't want. But despite that, that is gonna be Rise 6, and with that out of the way, we've got 2 of the Rice maps in the pool remaining. And for Rise 7, the one of the wildcard maps gonna be none other than Usate by YuEast 2018.
This is going to be our third wildcard pick. And yeah, it's gonna be Usate. Not the original one though, so gonna kinda be a remake, but only at 2 minutes long. This is gonna kinda be around your technical wildcard pick, but again, still kind of flowing in those jump streams as well. But already kind of breaking off from the intro, we're seeing a lot of those flams with those streams as well, accompanied by trills, accompanied by pretty much everything. And those jack transitions as well, which, they are not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the patterning in this map is nothing short of dirty, but despite that, the dirt here just adds on to the extra difficulty that you got to really like simply brush off because of how dense this song is, especially if you are familiar with like some maps that YuEast has made like on a similar caliber to this, such as I think it was this one map from the Chinese national tournament from last year in 4K, but like especially with like this map, it just does not let up in terms of density. You get a lot of these really dense like mini jack sort of like infused patterns with that are so insanely bursty, even at only like 184 BPM especially. So yeah, and this being like one of these shortest like Rice maps as well, only clocking it at 2 minutes long. This is definitely something to watch out for, regardless of what situation you're in.
Thankfully, I would say the middle part does flow a bit better from what we are seeing for the intro and outro, especially now as the anchors are just pretty much non-stop coming in the outro of the map. So if you can get, I think the main parts to take from this map is, well, if you can hold on to the intro and the outro, you would pretty much be smooth sailing. As again, the middle is just very flowy, not as technical compared to what we've seen. But now, that's going to be our last ordinary rice pick. And
Oh
what we have
boy.
what we have in store for you for Rice X, well, I
Mhm.
think we should just show you pretty much. It is going to be well, you already know the mapper. You already know who Ska is. Ska came out and made this absolute banger of a custom for us to conclude our final race for Touhou Mania Cup.
Especially, yep. And especially that Ska is a mapper that needs no introduction if you are a Mania player. Gonna be none other than Danzai wa Amaneku Ninja no Moto ni on 1.1 rate. This one being the wild card, or at least the upper wild card of the Mappool here. This is basically the epitome of like wild cards. As you can see, you get a lot of these really tight patterns on a song from the likes of Unlucky Morpheus. You've seen like some of these running man patterns from earlier, but then you also get thrown into a lot of these really sort of abrasive jacks, and also a lot of these like streams that are so tight that you just cannot just let up on a map like this. This is something that forces your focus no matter what happens, and this is something that you cannot afford a loss on, especially for a lot of the physical players that are remaining across the 3 teams remaining in this tournament so far.
Ska did not hold back at all, especially with the drain time being 4.5 minutes. You do not have breathing room at all, pretty much. Like, you've seen from the first quarter, you've seen a lot of those running man patterns, as Epic Man did mention. You also have a lot of those dumb sections and those long trills clocking at 187 BPM, which combined with the heavier snappings around the 300s as well, around the higher 300s, it's not easy, let me just say. And again, it's still giving you no breathing room. You still have to manage those mini trills as well, along those split frill and some of those long jack transitions as well. So this is pretty much, you have to pretty much master this map to be able to pretty much set a score like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite what you have seen earlier from such a relentless map like this map is the epitome of relentless. This may as well just be a Rice tiebreaker, like in the Mappool, and especially with this break, you still got to like watch out for some of these jump trills that are so tight, and then just shortly after it throws you into this guitar solo, and like especially with Ska's unique style of dump charting in general, it just makes the guitar solo and brings it out in ways that I don't think most people would have originally comprehended either way, especially with like how tight these patterns are. And that is only going into the final quarter, and especially as you can see, there's 4,000 combo that has been accumulated, and by that point, and with only a quarter of the map left, it still does not let up on that, as it takes a miss there as well.
This guitar solo feels like it's going on forever and ever, especially when you are playing it. You've seen it with the start with the 180 quad stream, and now once you survive the quad stream, you have to survive more of those running men patterns we've seen in the intro, a lot of those long jacks as well, and there's just no breaks as well. You're just jumping straight back into it pretty much. Back into those very heavy dump patterns and core jack transitions. It's just pretty much everything. No breaks, no nothing. A pure test of Rice. This is a Rice final exam pretty much. Gonna be the absolute climax of Rice.
Absolutely. Very well said there. This is basically the equivalent of trying to get a grade 6 pause or distinction off of playing a Rice map in a tournament such as this. But like, especially this map, basically like approaching like the ending, you've still got a lot of these Rice speed index streams with so many core jack transitions to go through, and that is going to be it for Rice X. thank you to all of the Rice Mappers, but we are nowhere done yet with what we have in store for you, especially as we are going to be seeing some hybrids next on the board. Going to be seeing none other than Unprivileged Access by GB Vito.
Who doesn't like Satori Saturdays?
Oh, my bad. What? Whoops. Okay.
Okay, but now we can kick off our hybrids. And the intro does start off kind of, I would say fairly late before we do get into our onslaught. Already we're seeing some of those 178 BPM shields. So it's kind of more transitioning between some of those technical LN patterns and some of those jump stream and even some of the hands seen inside there as well. Which it is short but a deadly map pretty much. At clocking in only at 2 minutes 17. But thankfully we're not really seeing a lot out of the blue, the patterns, besides the occasional 4-note long jack. But we do get a fairly small break as well to kind of, you know, regain yourself on a small bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially if you are familiar with the likes of Vito's style when it comes to these kinds of stream-oriented like hybrids, they are no stranger to these kinds of map styles in general. If you have seen their maps from tournaments such as MWC especially, or even over tournaments such as MCNC as well for some iterations in the past. And in general, this does feature so many of these like dense patterns at basically 139, 278 BPM as said in the chat earlier, and that is still such a dense speed to really be like facing or contesting on these kinds of patterns in general, really.
We still have the outro map left, and we do increase the density a bit with a lot more of those very minimal gaps, along with again some of those rice transitions as well. Jacks are, I do believe, at 139 BPM, and we are snapped at 1.8 snappings as well. And this outro is easily chokeable as well, as we do get that difficulty spike up a bit compared to what we have seen from earlier. But that will be concluding Hybrid 1. Again, short, but pretty deadly.
Absolutely. Very well said there. And despite that, Hybrid 2, man, this one's going to be a hell of a ride, I'd say. Nightkore, you don't even need any introduction. This is going to be none other than Saishu Kichiku and Moto Flounder as Calamity and Carnage 666 remix by Mint. This is going to be the technical Gen Jack hybrid pick. If you are familiar with Mint's mapping style, making a debut in this tournament, then you already know what is to expect. Especially on this song, which is just balls hard and insane in general. It only came out last year, but like, this is so insane just based off what you can already see in the map already, just with that LN wall and just being thrown immediately into the speed core section a quarter into the map. It's clocked at nearly 3 minutes in general, and this is definitely such a gauntlet of a map when it comes to these kinds of technical patterns overall.
Mint did not hold back at all. Like, we have already seen where we're getting pure density and a lot of those jacks as well. I'm not too sure the BPM because, well, it's 666 BPM. But again, with some of those dumpy rice stream bursts as well combined, you have to be pretty much on your toes for a pick like this. Again, at 8-star rating, gonna be very dense LN, and as we are kicking back into it with some of those jump stream and midi jacks as well. But here we go, now jumping into our next Ki, where again, wow, it's just it's just something else pretty much. A lot of those dense LN bursts combined with some of those shields as well, like, and a lot of those stream inverse gaps as well, which again, very hard to transition in and out from.
Absolutely, and especially with the likes that this is a remix from none other than Camellia. if you basically were to like put this into some sort of recipe, like you have like an intense Camellia song on the board on the table, and then you basically allow Mint to just cook something with it, then you are going to get something like this that is so relentless, that is so insanely difficult, and in general so like very, very like telling of the song itself and overall expressive. This is exactly what this map encapsulates, especially for like a map with such insane like genre switches in general. As you can see, going into this ending, which just feels sudden, but at the end you just feel like it was such a crazy ride for such a song.
Well, Mint definitely did not hold back mapping this. It is it looks very fun to play. I'd actually play it myself. But now, here we are into our hybrid 3, our final hybrid of this tournament. We are going to be seeing, this is going to be our technical hybrid pick this time. So, at 200 BPM, you can kind of expect an onslaught. That's what I'll say.
Absolutely, and with this map, Falling Fireworks by Fola 1217, this is gonna be basically nothing but an onslaught of falling fireworks that are just shot at like the players in the match if they were to like sort of like reckon or just simply pick out this map from the hat in general. This one being really technical, as you can see, if you are familiar with the likes of Fola in general, when it comes to their very abrasive hybrid style, you basically get this kind of style, especially with like seeing a lot of these L and flams mixed in with some of these really tight, just dump bursts in general. As you can see, this kind of mid-tempo-y sort of just start, as you can see, going into the first core, this map clocks in at 3.5 minutes of runtime at about 200 BPM, and is nothing short of what it means to be an abrasive hybrid map in general.
This map is holding back pretty much nothing. You've seen it from the start. We have a lot of those scattered releases on all those different snappings, combined with those inverse gaps as well. It is quite flowy, but very disruptive at the same time, especially if you do find a combo break as well. But there's a reason why this is OD 7.2 as well. All these releases are just very brutal, even at kind of at a more on the lower average of the overall difficulty. But we still only have the halfway point. So we're gonna have to be seeing what will be in store for us when we do kind of get into it. And already kicking off, we're seeing a lot more of those shields again when we kind of have that transition back into our final Ki. But it's going to be something you kind of have to be consistent on. Again, as a technical pick, this does kind of represent the accuracy for hybrid as well, when it does come to that. So you have to kind of keep your eyes on that as well. So keeping combo would be very handy.
Absolutely, and with how abrasive like even the calmest sections were in this map, this next chorus does not let up at all. You still get a lot of these mid-tempo-y sort of like wobs in general that are so incredibly dense and experimental. This is basically one of those like really avant-garde sort of hybrid tech maps that you get in certain tournaments, and especially with this sort of like being sort of reminiscent of the sort of like hybrid freeze that you see in MWC's late game, especially from the likes of Fola in general. Like this just goes to show like how insane these kinds of hybrids can be in general, especially if you have such an intense like song such as this in general. But despite that, you've still got this small Ellen wall to really just wriggle your way through as it slowly closes out upon the conclusion of that last chorus. But you can't let up on that one either. But despite that, that is going to be it for the hybrid department, and we've still got the Ellen maps remaining. And what could be a better start to the Ellen department with with LN1, the coordination pick, I'd say.
It is going to be your coordination pick. And we do have Zillion Lights by YuEast again. Well, actually, I do believe this is the. Never mind. Okay, I won't say anything else. So yeah, it's going to be our coordination pick.
Yeah, absolutely. This one basically being like coordination in this tournament. This is basically like really technical in terms of like what it really is, like really technical in the fact that it just sort of like pushes what is capable when it comes to coordination maps in general, especially if you are an LN enthusiast. And in general, you cannot just go in a tournament without expecting something from the likes of YuEast in general, such a flexible, like, sort of connoisseur when it comes to LN mapping in general, alongside various other styles, as you would know in general. And like knowing this map, and as you can see from this map, it just goes to show like how like dense like it is, like in general, just like how you are thrown into like a lot of these really intense like LN jacks and some of these LN anchors in general, to just simply like sort of like reflect on a sort of like synth poppy like song such as this from the likes of Marami Pop in general.
You kind of do have to continue managing some of those longer LNs with a lot of those shorter spurts of the LN as well. Again, at 146 BPM, we're seeing a lot more of those higher snappings around the 1A plus. And again, at 345, consistency is key pretty much. We even see some of those inverse coordination sections as well, which again, it's pretty much your pure coordination test. However, we do kind of get some of those lighter bricks as well. One we are seeing here, but doesn't really last that long. Again, kicking back straight into things, but managing some of those longer LNs, along some of those LN shields as well. Kind of splicing in a couple of more of those LN patterns.
Absolutely, and especially from what you have seen of this map that is here to offer, like, it just does not let up at all. Basically, just as relentless as all the other maps in this Mappool as you would have seen thus far. It only just takes it to an extreme as it continues, except this time being on the LN field, which only just makes it all the more difficult for various teams, especially. But I don't think the remaining teams in this tournament are going to be struggling too much with this one, in my opinion. This is 3 minutes and 45 seconds, nearly 4 minutes of runtime, but you've still got a bunch of breathing room in this map as well to really sort of like contradict like the overall difficulty, but even the break time is not substantial enough to really give you the breathing room that you would need to really sort of like recover your stamina midway through, as this map just continues throwing punches at you no matter which direction you are facing. Whether it's punching you from the head behind or it's punching you in the stomach, you really just gotta like watch out for for the map in general, and to just be able to guard yourself against it.
When you get into the outro, we're seeing, again, as I did say, those longer notes combined again with managing those free shorter note areas as well. And even at the last Ki, you do have a lot more of those inverse anchors as well, which definitely can catch a few people off if they're not really too prepared for it. But that is going to be our LN1. So now we're jumping into our LN density now, which will be our LN2.
I'm just going to say, this one needs no introduction. Buto Muso, by category, mapped by YuEast. You already know what's down. Especially from the plethora of LN density maps from the likes of YuEast on category songs. You cannot spell LN density without YuEast, and this one clocking in at 230 BPM and just having a runtime of 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You can already expect what is going to be happening.
We're pretty much jumping straight back into back-to-back YuEast actions, and although we did see the coordination side where, you know, a couple of those technical patterns as well inside some of the coordination, this is going to be your pretty much pure It's gonna be your pretty much pure density pick. Already seeing a lot of those trails as well inside of the LN. Gonna be near the. There's just pretty much very little gap. So you sometimes you might kind of have to treat this as somewhat inverse, I would even say, for a lot of them. But you do have some of those gaps as well, which hopefully you don't really get caught out by them. But you cannot stop at this map at all. Like, finding a miss in a density map like this could be pretty much detrimental.
But yeah, absolutely. And this map is basically like what really just tells you that you just cannot escape from trucks when you are like on the road, like just passing on a red light. When it just shows, instead of like just simply crossing on the green man sort of signal. And especially here, you get like a small break, but even then, this is not enough to really count as a break. You still got a lot of these really like sort of direction heavy like patterns to really like just keep you at the edge of your seat if you really want to be able to try and FC this. And so far, this is only with nearly 5,000 points, 5,000 notes of combo going into this map, and it's only just past the halfway mark as well in general.
We're actually seeing a couple of hands accompanying as well our density, but again, we're still not even at the second KI, where as we do jump into it, to have this repeating pattern a small bit combined with those awkward trill to transition into, and as we do get that small break before we jump into, I would say, another minute and bit of the remainder of this brutality, we could just expect stuff to be, well, even more brutal than stuff are already. And already getting into it, we're seeing a lot of those one-sided jumps with different snappings on the releases as well. However, they are very minimal gaps, so not as bad. But now just heading into our final part, where those speed ups, where we do pick up the pace slightly, and we just pretty much have the outro left.
Yeah, absolutely. And this map still not letting up on the density factor at all by any means necessary. You've still got this final section with a guitar solo, and you can basically hear a bit of Boatome in this as well, just finishing this map off as is. But that is going to conclude Buta Muso by YuEast 2018, and we've still got multiple Ellen maps on the board, but despite that, we can move on to Ellen 3, going to be none other than, drumroll please,
it is going to be Native Fate.
Native Fate by Commissar, mapped by Rebian.
And this is gonna be our shield jack pick. So already sounding by the chip tune, you know you're kind of in for a time already. Something around kind of like around like Clover or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you've I'd like to imagine like this map as Clover's evil twin sister or something like that. This is basically similar to like that map in question, except this one, clock it in at 160 BPM and clock it in at 3 minutes of runtime. You are thrown into a lot of these really dense like patterns in general that incorporate so many of these 1/8 jacks that you really just cannot take your eyes off of under any means necessary at all. And this is only the first core, as you can see, as you can already like get into like a bit of this sort of like chiptune solo from, as you would see in quite a bunch of Commissar's works in general of this caliber.
It's also very heavy when it does come to its dumb sections as well, as we are seeing a lot when we're heading into this section of the map, which again, with those very minimal gaps as well, definitely going to be fairly challenging for those who are kind of jumping into this map. But however, they do float fairly well, so I guess if it's something you're fairly comfortable with, it wouldn't be as bad. But now as we kind of get back into actions again. We're seeing a lot more of those kind of free no patterns while holding onto that one of our LN as well. And as we get to our chiptune solo, it's going to be pure density, guys. What else can I just say?
Absolutely, and you can basically just hear a lot of these chiptune power chords, like in the background, just like being expressed through like these LN inverse jump jacks that just make it so difficult to just get through if you are not careful enough. And but despite that, the map still does not let up despite what the odds are, and you still get a lot of these really dense technical patterns as well, getting a lot of these trills and some of these bursts like thrown in to just make matters all the more difficult for the players in question. It's basically one side, like I've said before, like one of those maps that just does not allow you to just simply take your foot off of the gas pedal, as it still just keeps going in terms of density, and it just offers nearly no break at all for anyone just upon playing this.
You're just heading into your pure triple jacks along those shields as well, holding on to that 60 BPM along with some of those scar releases as well near the outro. Definitely would be a pretty decent choke point for some teams who do kind of find to struggle on a section like that. But there we go. We have LN free over and done with. Very fun map, by the way. And now we can jump into our long note number 4, which is going to be our stream long note, if I do remember correctly.
Long
and it
note
is
Lies in Reality by Fel, mapped by Mickleek and also Mint, I believe. So this one gonna be a bit of yet another gauntlet of an LN map. This one being more sort of on the stream side and also but also remaining on the technical factor in general. As you would know, Mint is very well known for making a lot of these really technical like maps in general, when it comes to LN especially, and especially if you are and Mickleek is no stranger to this kind of approach in mapping either, knowing just how abrasive that some maps knowing like a lot of their maps being abrasive, such as on this caliber, as you would have seen in maps in tournaments such as Oceania Tournament LN3, to name a few, and especially here, like just on this kind of song from the likes of Fel in general, this only just goes to show like how the boundaries can just be pushed further and further into the depths to really just bring out the difficulty that players are just basically likely to struggle on at this point.
Yeah, pretty much as you said. Again, like, you're managing a map like this at 204 BPM combined with some of those higher snappings. I do believe we kick into even higher BPM range as well. You're managing 300 BPM LN stream, and those gaps are very tiny as well. Even some some inverse as well, seeing by it is managing 300 inverse stream at this level. You better hope you do not find a comic break in any of these KIs, as it would be pretty unfortunate for those who do find one. And it is just on and on and on. You do kind of get those slight stop and go sections in the middle after that KI, but we are still only halfway through the map, so it is not over until it is over.
And yeah, especially going into this LN wall to just simply reflect on such a dense vocal section here, you get thrown into yet another chorus, and it just throws a lot more of these LN walls at you, albeit just more dump oriented. It's like if you were to mix a dump map, like just as you would have seen from the Rice department earlier, but you ramp it up to 11 by making them more LN oriented, and that just makes it all the more saucier for a pick such as this to really just allow for contests to really just flesh itself out in overall. And you can hear and still it does not let up despite where, no matter where the song is, it's just going to keep on the density, the pace that is picked up throughout here, and you still got a lot of these really intense, like, control-heavy patterns to, like, go through. A lot of these trills, a lot of these jacks as well, you gotta watch out for before you get into this next section, which is basically an inverse wall of it, as the map slowly closes out here. But yeah, despite that, that is going to conclude Ellen numero numero cuatro. Oh my god, yeah, Ellen 4.
Okay. And just like that, guys, that is also our final ordinary pick of this tournament.
Oh.
We only have 2 more maps left, and to finish off our final pick outside the tiebreaker, it is going to be our LNX, our wildcard by Cyarlene, also known as Serenade as well, and they did not hold back when pretty much mapping this.
Absolutely, absolute queen, an absolute gauntlet of an Ellen map. As you can see, this is basically what you have been waiting for in a tournament such as this. A song from the likes of Lore, and clocked in nearly 3 minutes of runtime. And especially Chryslerline is no stranger for when it comes to these insanely wildcard maps in general. As you can see, this already just throws you into some really fast, like, sort of electronica, like, music that you would usually see in various rhythm games overall, and you can already just see how insane the song sounds. Just with how technical the song sounds, as you get a lot of these neuro basses in the background, along with some of these, like, just plucks in general that are so crunchy, as a reflection of what is in this map. But that is only half of what this course has to offer.
And as we do jump straight back into the KI, we're seeing everything we have seen from our previous 4 LN picks. Pretty much your density, your stream, a lot of even some shields inside of the inside of some of those bursts as well. They are not playing around. Even some of those stop and goes as well is just to give you some sort of mercy. And oh my god, that stream, Jack, is ugly. Now we do get into our final quarter, which is still going to be holding on to some of that difficulty from what we have seen, but only raise it up to 11.
It may as well just be 15 at this point with how things are heading in this map. It still does not let up. There has not been a single break, but you can already just garner from this transition that it's only going to get difficult from here. As you can see from this key change, it just throws in a lot more of these patterns that were already established earlier, but just simply makes them a lot denser. You can already see that the UR is struggling to just simply perfectly act everything like an extraterrestrial. And that is exactly what this map encapsulates at all the costs. And this is something that all the players are going to have to really keep on their toes for. But despite that, that is going to conclude LNX. And can I just say,
That's
yeah,
you go.
okay. Can I just say that, like, with how this tournament has been, this has been a crazy run for a tournament of this caliber. Just like going through like all of these map pools and all the crazy matches that we've seen since the group stage and qualifiers. But we only have one map left to showcase of the entire tournament, the one and only tiebreaker.
Let's collapse this galaxy, maybe.
Mhm.
Yep. Ready. And just like that, the galaxy has been collapsed. I'm so sorry. Okay. Um, that is it. We really hope you enjoyed that tiebreaker and every map. And actually just we hope you enjoyed this entire tournament. We have to give a special thanks for you guys pretty much. All the staff, all the players, Epic Man, you two for commentating with me. We everyone in Touhou Mania Cup really appreciates the support you guys have stuck through with us for the previous few months and for all the other iterations. And all we have left is to watch the final three teams, Gravity Coil, Girlfriend ASMR, Mahjong Soul Official, duke it out to see who will be crowned victorious for Touhou Mania Cup 4th edition. So, do you have anything you'd like to say as well, Epic Man?
Me personally, I think you basically summarized like all that I was going to say, basically flawlessly at this point. Very well done on that. But honestly, with all of that said, once again, a huge shout out to every single person that has participated in this tournament. But we hope to catch you all next week for the final matches to really just finalize those podium spots.
Yep. Every tournament has to come to an end. And we still have not approached our climax yet. So just stay tuned. And signing off for the Mappool showcase for the final time this iteration is going to be Nightkore, and we have Epic Man as well with me. Thank you so much for being with me for this last 1 hour and nearly 20 minutes.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for commentating, and we will catch you all next week. We will see you when Gravity Cool and Girlfriend ASMR face off for the final time.
And stay funky. Take care.